I don't even know how to process this. I feel like my brain just short-circuited. Started as a joke. My best friend, Leo, 17M, and I, 16M, were chilling in my room, swiping through Tinder for fun. Neither of us were actually trying to meet anyone. We were just seeing what kind of weird people were out there. You know, the usual, fake influencers, people using pictures of their pets instead of themselves, and way too many gym mirror selfies. Leo kept laughing at the worst bios. Dude, look at this one. Love hiking, traveling, and making deep connections. Bro, just say you're unemployed. I snorted. Oh, here's another one. I'm 5 feet 9 inches, but 6 feet 2 inches in heels. We went on like that for a while, swiping left on anything remotely normal and right on the most unhinged profiles, just to see if they'd match. And then, I saw him. My dad. Like, my actual married for 18 years to my mom dad. I froze. My hand stopped mid-swipe. My heart did this weird, panicked lurch in my chest. At first, I thought my brain was messing with me. That maybe I was tired, and my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, it was him. Same haircut, same smirk. Even the blue button-up shirt I knew was hanging in his closet right now. Leo noticed my reaction and leaned over. Dude, why do you look like you just saw a ghost? I didn't answer. I just turned my phone toward him. Leo's face went pale. Bro, that's your dad. Yeah. My voice sounded weird. Distant. Your married dad. I know. We just sat there, staring at each other while my dad's Tinder profile stared back at us like a loaded gun. His bio was short. Some dumb quote about living life to the fullest and a few emojis. Nothing about my mom. Nothing about, his entire family. Leo exhaled slowly. Okay, maybe it's fake. A scam or something. I wanted to believe that. I really, really did. But the pictures. They were real. One was taken in our backyard. Another one was from last year's vacation. The same vacation my mom was on. My stomach twisted. I felt like I was going to be sick. Leo sat up, suddenly serious. Dude. Swipe right. I jerked back. What? If it's fake, nothing will happen. But if it's actually him, you'll know. I hesitated. This felt insane. But at the same time, I had to be sure. My thumb hovered over the screen. I thought about my mom. About our family. About how normal everything had seemed just hours ago. And then, before I could overthink it, I swiped right. It was a match. My lungs locked up. My heart pounded in my ears. Leo grabbed my arm. Oh, my God. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. And then, before I could even process that, a new message appeared on my screen. From him. Hey there. You seem really cool. Want to chat? My hands went cold. I had just matched with my own father. And he had no idea it was me. I don't think I've ever felt closer to vomiting on the spot. My dad, my actual married, I tucked you into bed when you were 5 dad, had just messaged me on Tinder. Leo practically tackled me. Dude, what the hell? I was too busy staring at my screen, my brain short-circuiting. The message sat there, taunting me. Hey there. You seem really cool. Want to chat? Leo waved his hands in front of my face. Bro, you need to answer. Or unmatch. Or, actually, no, screenshot this first. Because what is happening? I don't know, I stammered. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Leo grabbed my shoulders. Okay, deep breaths. Let's go over the possibilities here. Possibilities. I hissed. There's only one possibility, and it's that my dad is a lying, cheating. Or, Leo cut in, someone stole his pictures and is using them to catfish people. I paused. That was possible. I mean, people got scammed online all the time, right? Maybe this wasn't actually him. Maybe it was some random creep pretending to be him. I forced myself to breathe. Okay, so how do we figure out if it's really him? Leo pointed at the screen. Easy. You text him back. I almost dropped my phone again. Nope. Absolutely not. That's a line I'm not crossing. Leo rolled his eyes. Dude, he doesn't know it's you. Just ask something only he would know. If he answers correctly, then yeah, your dad is a cheating piece of trash. My stomach twisted. The idea of texting my dad like this made my skin crawl. But at the same time, If this was real, I couldn't just ignore it. I tapped my fingers against my phone, thinking fast. Then, before I could talk myself out of it, I typed, "Hey, quick question. What's your ideal first date?" It felt safe, neutral, something normal. I stared at the message. My finger hovered over the send button. Leo nudged me. "Do it." I closed my eyes and hit send. For a few agonizing minutes, nothing happened. And then, "Dad." Good question. I'd say something fun but casual. Maybe a nice dinner followed by a long drive, good music, and deep conversation. Leo and I exchanged a look. Because that was exactly what my mom had said when I asked how she and my dad went on their first date. This wasn't a catfish. This was really him. Leo let out a low whistle. "Damn. Your dad is smooth. Too bad he's also a cheating bastard." I felt sick. I stared at my dad's message, my mind spinning. Should I call him out? Should I tell my mom? Should I pretend this never happened? I had no idea. But one thing was certain. My dad had just hit on me, and there was no coming back from that. I don't know what's worse, the fact that my dad is cheating on my mom, or the fact that I'm now actively texting him like some undercover FBI agent. I should have unmatched him. I should have done something. But instead, I just sat there, staring at my phone, reading his message over and over again. Leo finally broke the silence. "Dude, you have to keep talking to him." I looked at him like he was insane. "Are you out of your mind?" "Hear me out," he said, holding up his hands. "If you just confront him now, he'll probably deny everything. But if you get proof, like actual proof, you can't be gaslit out of it." I hated that he had a point. I also hated that my first Tinder conversation ever was with my own father. I swallowed hard and typed, "Me, that sounds really nice. What kind of music do you like on those long drives?" It was innocent enough. A normal question. But I knew exactly what answer I was hoping for. A minute passed. Then another. And, "Dad, I like a mix of everything, but I have a soft spot for classic rock. There's nothing like a late-night drive with some Pink Floyd playing in the background." I nearly dropped my phone. Because I had literally heard him say that exact sentence before. Leo peeked over my shoulder. "Dude, this is bad." "No kidding." I put my phone down, rubbing my face. "What do I do? Do I tell my mom? Do I confront him?" Leo shook his head. "Not yet. We need more proof." I groaned. "I don't want more proof. I already have proof. I matched with him. He's texting me. He literally flirted with me." Leo made a face. "Yeah, that part is extra gross." I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I took another deep breath and did something I never thought I'd have to do in my life. I kept catfishing my own father. "Me, Pink Floyd? Nice choice. You must have great taste." Winking face. Leo gagged. "Okay, now I'm gonna throw up." A few seconds later, my dad replied. "Dad, I try." Winking face. "So tell me, what brings you to Tinder? Looking for something serious, or just having fun?" My stomach twisted into knots. He was asking about my dating life. I was going to be sick. Leo smacked my arm. "Dude, you have him. Ask him what he's looking for. If he says anything sketchy, you have solid proof." My hands were shaking as I typed. "Me, a little of both, I guess." "What about you?" I felt gross. I felt like I needed to shower for a year. But I hit send anyway. And then I waited. And waited. Until finally, my dad's message popped up. "Dad, honestly, I'm looking for someone who can bring some excitement back into my life. Someone who understands me in a way my wife doesn't anymore." Leo and I stared at the screen. I thought I knew what anger was before. I was wrong. Because in that moment, I had never wanted to punch someone more in my life. I thought I'd be prepared. I thought, after matching with my own father on Tinder and watching him flirt with me without knowing it was me, that nothing else could shock me. But reading that message, "I'm looking for someone who can bring some excitement back into my life. Someone who understands me in a way my wife doesn't anymore." Yeah, that hit different. Leo was the first to react. "Bro, I don't even know what to say." I did. But if I said any of it out loud, my mom would have come upstairs to ground me for life. My hands were clenched into fists. My jaw was so tight it hurt. My dad talking about my mom like she was some boring inconvenience. Like she wasn't the woman who had been by his side for nearly 2 decades. The woman who took care of him when he was sick, who packed him lunches, who never forgot their anniversary. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to text back, "Hey, it's me, your son, and you're a cheating piece of." But Leo grabbed my wrist before I could start typing. "Don't," he said. "Not yet." I snapped my head toward him. "Leo, I can't keep talking to him like this. I feel like I need to bathe in bleach." "I get it," he said. "But think about it. If you just tell him now, what's he gonna do? Deny it? Say it was just a joke?" I clenched my jaw. Leo kept going. "You need something undeniable. Something that, when you show your mom, there's no way he can weasel out of it." My stomach twisted. The thought of telling my mom made my chest ache. She didn't deserve this. She deserved a husband who actually loved her, not some sleazebag sneaking around on dating apps. I took a deep breath. "Fine. One more message. Then I'm done." Leo nodded. "Make it count." I turned back to my phone and typed. "Me, that makes sense. So, are you looking for something casual, or something long-term?" I wanted to see how deep this went. If he was just some sleazy flirt, or if he was actually planning to replace my mom. A minute passed. And, "Dad, it depends on the connection. If it's right, I'm open to more." Leo let out a low whistle. Damn. He's really out here trying to build a second life. My chest burned with rage. This wasn't just some midlife crisis thing. My dad wasn't just looking for attention. He was open to more. I was about to lose it, but then, another message popped up. "Dad, you free to meet up sometime?" The room went silent. Leo's eyes were about to pop out of his skull. "Dude." I stared at the screen. This was it. This was the moment. I could end this right now. I could agree to meet him, show up, and watch the shock on his face when he realized he'd been caught by his own son. I could confront him, destroy his whole plan. But then I thought about my mom. Did she know? Had she ever suspected? Did she lay next to him at night, thinking everything was fine while he was out here looking for something better? I swallowed hard, my thumbs hovering over the keyboard. What would you do? Would you meet him? Expose him? Because I don't know if I'm ready for what happens next. I don't think I've ever stared at my phone this hard in my life. My dad, my married dad, had just asked me if I wanted to meet up. Leo was gripping my arm like we were in a horror movie. "Dude, what do we do?" I had no idea. I could have unmatched him. I could have confronted him right then and there. I could have thrown my phone across the room and pretended I never saw any of this. But no. This was bigger than me. This was my mom's life. And if I wanted to take this all the way, if I wanted to get proof he couldn't lie his way out of, there was only one thing to do. I had to say yes. I swallowed hard and typed. "Me, yeah, I'd love to. When are you free?" I felt disgusting. Leo slapped his hand over his mouth like he couldn't believe I'd actually done it. "Bro, you're meeting your dad for a date." I groaned. "Please don't say it like that." Seconds later, my dad replied. "Dad, how about tomorrow night? There's a little cafe on 8th Street. Nice and private. 7 p.m. A private cafe? Oh, he was really trying to keep this low-key. Leo whistled. Man has a system. I was going to throw up. Me, sounds perfect. Can't wait. Winking face. The second I hit send, I threw my phone onto the bed like it was cursed. Leo shook his head. I don't know whether to be horrified or impressed. "You're a menace." I dropped onto my bed, rubbing my face. What the hell am I doing? Leo sat down next to me. "Catching a cheater." I exhaled. I can't believe it's him. Like, I knew some dads cheated, but mine. Leo shrugged. "Dude, it's always the ones you least expect." I clenched my jaw. My mom deserves better. Leo nodded. "Then let's make sure she gets proof. When we show up tomorrow, he's not getting out of this." I frowned. Leo grinned. "You think I'm missing this?" "Hell no. I'm your emotional support best friend." I actually laughed a little. Just a little. Then I exhaled. "Okay, tomorrow night, we end this." I had no idea how my dad would react. Would he freak out? Try to lie his way out of it? Or would he admit everything? No matter what, one thing was certain. Tomorrow night, my dad was about to get the shock of his life. The next 24 hours felt like the longest of my life. I couldn't look at my dad without my stomach turning. Every time he spoke, every time he laughed at something on TV, every time he kissed my mom on the cheek, I wanted to scream. He had no idea what was coming. Leo and I spent most of the day planning. If we were going to do this, we had to do it right. We didn't just need to catch him, we needed proof. So, what's the move? Leo asked while we were hanging out in my room. Are you just gonna walk in and be like, surprise, it's me, your son. You're a scumbag. I shook my head. I need him to admit it. Out loud. And I need it recorded. Leo nodded. Classic cheater bust. Love it. I pulled out my phone and tested the voice recorder. If I get him talking, I can probably get him to say something incriminating. And if that doesn't work, I smirked. Then we improvise. Leo grinned. God, I love this plan. The clock hit 6:30 p.m. It was time. I told my mom I was going out to meet a friend, which wasn't technically a lie, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the cafe. Leo rode with me, just in case I needed backup. By the time we got there, my stomach was in knots. The place was small, cozy, and, like my dad had promised, private. Because obviously, he wouldn't risk getting caught somewhere busy. Leo and I scoped out the place from outside. There, Leo said, pointing. Corner table. That's him. I spotted him instantly. My dad was sitting by the window, casually scrolling on his phone. He looked relaxed, like he wasn't actively wrecking our family. Leo nudged me. You ready for this? I swallowed hard. Yeah. I took a deep breath, turned on my voice recorder, and walked inside. My dad looked up the second I approached the table. He smiled. Hey, you must be. And then he froze, because he finally saw who he had just asked on a date. His own son. His face went pale. His mouth opened and closed, like his brain had completely short-circuited. I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. Hey, Dad, I said, keeping my voice calm. Funny running into you here. Leo, watching from outside, lost his mind. I have never seen a human being glitch before, but my dad? He was straight up malfunctioning. His face went pale. His eyes darted around like he was trying to convince himself this wasn't real. Like maybe, just maybe, if he blinked enough times, I'd disappear. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at him. Well, I said, aren't you going to say something? He swallowed hard. Jake, this isn't. I leaned forward. Not what it looks like. His mouth opened. No words came out. Leo was still outside, watching through the window like this was the season finale of a TV show. And honestly, kind of felt like one. My dad ran a hand down his face. I don't know what to say. How about the truth? I suggested. That's usually a good place to start. He exhaled shakily. Jake, listen. This isn't what you think. I rolled my eyes. Oh, really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like what I think. My married father is on Tinder, looking for someone who isn't my mom. He winced. It's not. Look, I haven't actually done anything. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Because asking someone to meet up kind of feels like doing something. He looked away. I let the silence stretch between us. Let him sit in it. Let him feel the weight of what he had done. And then I spoke. Why? His eyes snapped back to me. Why would you do this? I asked, my voice quieter now. Mom loves you. She trusts you. And you're out here swiping on Tinder like some single guy? Like she doesn't even matter. Guilt flickered across his face. He ran a hand through his hair, looking exhausted. Jake, it's complicated. Make it simple, I said. He sighed. Your mom and I, things haven't been the same for a while. We've been distant, arguing. I felt like I needed something. Someone to talk to. I clenched my jaw. Then talked to her. Not random strangers on the internet. He closed his eyes like he knew I was right. For a second, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. And then I remembered my mom, sitting at home, completely unaware that the man she loved was betraying her. My dad finally looked at me. Jake, are you going to tell her? I just stared at him. He looked desperate, maybe even scared. And in that moment, I realized something. He wasn't afraid of losing my mom. He was afraid of getting caught. My dad was afraid. Not because he'd hurt my mom. Not because he felt guilty. But because he'd been caught. And that made me hate him even more. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "You're not worried about Mom, are you?" His jaw tightened. "Of course I am." "No," I said. "You're worried about what happens to you. About what Mom will do if she finds out. About what people will think. But you're not actually sorry for doing it." He didn't deny it. That was all the proof I needed. Outside, Leo was watching like he had front row seats to the greatest drama of the year. He gave me a thumbs up through the window, which was wildly inappropriate, but honestly, I kind of needed it. I turned back to my dad. "So, what now?" He exhaled. "Jake, I need you to understand. I never planned to go through with anything. I was just looking." I cut in. "Testing the waters? Lining up your options?" He flinched. "Good." I shook my head. "You're a coward, Jake. You matched with your own son, Dad," I hissed. "Do you get how insane that is? Like, the universe literally handed you a chance to realize how stupid you're being, and you still kept going." He swallowed hard. I held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't." He fell silent. For a moment, I just stared at him. This man who had raised me. This man I had looked up to. This man I had trusted. I didn't recognize him anymore. I grabbed my phone, stopping the voice recording. His eyes flicked to the screen. His face paled. "Jake." I stood up. "I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet." Panic flashed across his face. "Please." I ignored him. I turned and walked toward the door, my hands shaking. Leo scrambled to join me outside. "Dude, that was insane." I barely heard him, because there was only one thought running through my head. I had proof. Now I had to decide what to do with it. I had proof. I had my dad's voice recorded, admitting everything. Lying. Making excuses. Talking about my mom like she was some obstacle instead of the woman who had loved him for years. Now, I had to decide what to do with it. Leo and I walked away from the cafe, the cool night air barely helping the burning in my chest. I felt sick. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Dude," Leo said, keeping pace beside me. "What's the move? Are you telling your mom?" I exhaled. "I don't know." Leo frowned. "What do you mean you don't know? Bro, your dad is a scumbag. Your mom deserves to know." "I know that," I snapped, a little harsher than I meant to. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady myself. "But once I do, there's no undoing it. This blows everything up." Leo stayed quiet for a moment. "Yeah, but maybe it's a bomb that needs to go off." I swallowed hard. He wasn't wrong. If I didn't tell her, she'd keep living in a lie. She'd keep thinking my dad was the man she married, the man who cared about our family. But if I did tell her, our family would never be the same again. We got to my bike. I gripped the handlebars, trying to push down the lump in my throat. I don't want to be the reason our family falls apart." Leo sighed. "Jake, you're not the reason. Your dad is. He made this choice. He did this. Not you." I nodded, but the guilt still sat heavy in my chest. Leo clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Look, man, I'll back whatever you decide. But if it were me, I'd want to know the truth." I let out a slow breath. He was right. My mom deserved to know. And just like that, my decision was made. I was going to tell her. And I had no idea what would happen next. I thought about waiting. I thought about giving myself more time to figure out the right way to do this. But there was no right way. So when I got home that night, I didn't stall. I didn't overthink. I just walked into the living room, where my mom was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, sweetie. How was your night?" My stomach twisted. I sat down across from her, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. "Mom, I need to tell you something." Her smile faded. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. And then, in the hardest conversation of my life, I told her. Everything. I told her about Tinder. About how I found my dad's profile. About how I swiped right, thinking maybe, just maybe, it was a mistake. And then I told her it wasn't. That it was real. That he had matched with me. That he had messaged me, flirted, planned to meet up. Her face went blank. Completely empty. No shock. No anger. Just nothing. Mom? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She exhaled shakily, placing her phone down on the table with the slowest movement I'd ever seen. And then she looked at me, really looked at me, like she was seeing me for the first time. And she said, "Show me." I hesitated. "Are you sure, Jake?" Her voice was firm, but not angry, just tired. "Show me." So I did. I played the recording. The room filled with my dad's voice, smooth, casual, completely unaware that he was digging his own grave. I watched my mom as she listened, her hands clenched into fists. Her chest rose and fell in slow, deliberate breaths. Her lips pressed into a thin line. And then, when it was over, she nodded. Not a word. Not a single tear. Just a nod. And then she stood up. I swallowed hard. "Mom, what are you gonna?" "I don't know yet," she said, cutting me off. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "But I promise you, Jake, this isn't staying a secret." And just like that, everything changed. I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe my dad will try to deny it. Maybe my mom will kick him out. Maybe our family will never be the same. But one thing is for sure, my mom deserved the truth. And now, she has it. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more wild Reddit stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep the stories coming.